The news is out. China has unleashed chaos on luxury brands, and it might be hard to come back from this. Many claims from Chinese factories have been released that they are the manufacturers for big luxury brands, such as Hermès, Louis Vuitton, Prada, Dior, to name a few. So let's do a deep dive. Could this be the end of luxury brands? So I have worked in clothing manufacturing for a few years, and that includes also talking with suppliers and factories internationally. I've learned a lot about this industry, and it's not an easy one to get into. There's a lot of processes and logistics to getting products made. Then you have to find a way to sell your product and have consumers want it. This is where luxury brands capitalize, because once they find their buyer, then they try to sell them a lifestyle. So China recently exposed luxury brands, and whether it's true or not, the internet is blowing up over it. Counterfeit handbags have started to grow since the 80s and 90s, when flashy logos were very popular at the time. There were more manufacturing hubs, street vendors, and e-commerce websites to buy from. And now e-commerce websites have become the most popular because it's harder to track the products down. The goal of the counterfeit market was to sell luxury products at a way cheaper price. Now, there are a few quality of fakes, so let's go through them. So the grade A bag would be defined as one that has very visible mistakes on it, and that can be very noticeable in its quality or logos, etc. Then you have a grade AAA, and that would be that there might be some minor defects or flaws, not really anything that you can notice typically for the product. And finally, the last one is a super fake. So this is where it looks basically identical to the original item, and you wouldn't be able to tell a difference unless you're someone who really knows handbags. So this typically has no logo, and this is what the Chinese factories are really trying to push on right now. Now, maybe you've heard those terms before, but there's a new term that's circulating the internet, and it's called OEM, the same as the original or original equipment manufacturer. And these can be made in the same factories as the originals, but there just might be minor defects to it. They might use the leftover materials as well, but this might not be anything that the consumer will notice. And this is where China is trying to make their profits, whether this is all true or not. Of course, some of these Chinese factories might be claiming it's a super fake or making different grades. Or in all, they might not even be manufacturing for these companies, and they're just trying to capitalize on the chaos because they are seeing what other factories around them are doing. Chinese factories are starting to come out and expose these luxury brands, saying that they are secretly producing in China even though their tag says made in France or made in Italy. They say the items that are produced in Europe could be as little as sewing on that last label, and then they can claim that it's made in Europe. As for fabrics and trims, they can literally come from anywhere, and that never needs to be disclosed. Now, as for these markups, so the iconic Birkin bag, which sells for a retail of $38,000 US. So factories are coming out to say that it does not actually cost nearly this much to produce, which should be kind of obvious. But they are claiming that it actually costs $1,400 US to make it. If it were actually made in Europe instead of the US, it would probably look more like $2,800 US to produce this bag from start to finish, which it's still a really high markup. So sure, you must mark up your products to make a profit, but to put a 2,600% markup is insane. So why is China going out to expose these luxury brands? It's due to the tariffs. All these factories took it upon themselves to expose how you can get these products for a fraction of the price through them directly. Of course, these bags you get may come without the logo if you can go without that. And this is taking down brands on a whole other level we've never seen before. Now, this has caused people to go in a frenzy trying to compile a list of Chinese manufacturers who are selling these super fakes or maybe legit products, and that's as they're claiming. They are also showing you how to order from the factory directly so you can avoid these tariffs and US pricings, And they've also recently added visa-free shopping tours as well. Now, a lot of these luxury companies have denied that they are associated with these factories, saying they don't produce any of their products in China, but a lot of other companies just stayed silent. And people are not buying it. They want these companies to show videos of their factory in Europe of people handcrafting these bags. Reality is, big brands can produce anywhere they want, and they may have multiple factories in different countries. Now let's talk briefly about Hermès, the one who sells the Birkin bags. On its website it states, majority of their products are made in France. Now the key word for me here would be majority. Like what is majority is not 100%. But then they do say they make their accessories in other countries still based in Europe. They also have a couple of images as well of their atelier where they're making the products. But people seem to want more transparency, which is fair enough because they can get these images from anywhere. Now, as for the legalities of saying your product is made in France when it's not, let's go through some of these points to clarify this. So, to legally label a product made in France, the product must meet 2 criteria. Substantial transformation in France. The last manufacturing step must occur in France. So to me, this goes to being a made in France label, 1 step. So let's read further. This means the process must change the product's nature on purpose, not just simple assembly or packaging. So, okay, this sounds like this would be more than a label in this case, like something actually needs to change. So point number 2, at least 45% of the value must come from France. This includes labor, materials, overhead, and manufacturing costs. So if some components are imported, like zippers hardware, that's okay, as long as the bulk of the value creation happens in France. So only 45% of it actually needs to be from France. High-end brands like Hermes and Louis Vuitton ensure 100% of production is in France, and they often exceed the legal minimum to preserve the made in France, to add their trust to their image. And let's see, this false claims fine can be up to 300,000 or 2 years of jail. So, that's a pretty big deal. That's not a small thing. So based on all this information, I would say it's probably made in France. But honestly, in any industry, there's so many loopholes that I don't know what to believe. What do you guys think? Now, brands' logos haven't been nearly as popular as they were in the early 2000s, but now we may enter a whole new era where the true item is less valuable. Is China capitalizing on this chaos due to the tariffs, or is this a power play? It could be. They could be preparing for what's to come, as they may end up losing businesses because of these tariffs. So maybe this is all because they're trying to collect their money while they can now, in case they can't make up these profits later. As for yourself, if you are interested in luxury products, has this made you think twice about luxury products now? Now that you know what the actual cost is versus the perceived cost? Are the production costs that these Chinese factories even claiming correct? Are they trying to make a profit from it? Maybe they're marking their bags up 50%. So then to make a Birkin bag, does it cost maybe only $500? There's really a lot of information that we don't know here. So who is telling the truth? Now, there's no reason to be buying these luxury goods if you cannot afford it, because luxury brands are all about status. If you can't afford it, then you are the brand's ideal consumer. So next, consumers are starting to make moves. So they're starting to reach out to these factories to buy from them if they've always wanted a luxury bag, to get it for a cheaper price. And comparing some of these products, it's really hard to tell them apart. And we are just starting to see the beginning of all these videos coming out comparing the 2 products. And so far, honestly, it's looking pretty good. I think in all, whether this is true or not, this is definitely a good lesson to learn. Thinking as to where your products are made and what the actual value is compared to the perceived value. But also, this is a very fragile time for luxury brands, and I think right now they must do everything in their power to be as transparent as possible, opposed to just dismissing that these are all false claims. It's not enough. So, what do you think? Do you think this is all true, or is China seeking revenge due to these tariffs? Let me know in the comments what you think.